Hey everyone, it's Kathryn, and we're on week 2 of vacation. And I say vacation with quotes because I've mostly been glued to the Lindsay Clancy trial. But, we did make it to a beach, briefly. There was sand, and that counts. Anyway, one more Vault episode for you while we're out, from the original case files, the old format. My story, Gabriel's commentary, and last week we gave you a con man. Well, this week, we're giving you Ruth Snyder. She was the Queen's housewife whose murder plot became such a tabloid circus, it basically invented true crime coverage, including, let's be honest, this podcast. All 12 original case files are on Patreon with the real records from our research. Patreon.com/Mugshot Mysteries. New episodes begin next Monday, August 31st.
Welcome back, Mugshotters. I'm your host, Kathryn.
And I'm Gabriel.
And today's mugshot brings us to January 12th, 1928. The lights inside Sing Sing prison blaze harsh and white. A small group of men, reporters hardened by years of crime stories, stand shoulder to shoulder in the witness room. They've seen bodies pulled from rivers, bloodied gangsters crumbled in alleys, but nothing compares them for this. At the center sits a woman. Her hair has been chopped to the stubble for the electrodes. Her wrists are strapped down, her ankles bound, and she swallows hard, but does not cry. She looks out at the room one last time. This is Ruth Snyder. And in seconds, she'll become the first woman executed in New York in over 30 years. As the guards step back, a photographer named Tom Howard makes his move. Strapped to his ankle is a camera. Illegal, hidden, and waiting for this exact moment. The current surges. Ruth jerks against the straps, eyes wide, lips twisted in a half-formed plea, and Howard squeezes the trigger. And the shutter clicks. By dawn, her death will be plastered across the front page of the New York Daily News, beneath one savage word in block letters: dead. But before she becomes a headline, before she was the grainy photograph that shocked America, Ruth was something else. A housewife in Queens, a woman bored, resentful, and looking for more. And her story, the way it spiraled from a tidy living room to a murder scene, would leave the entire country breathless. This is the story of Ruth Snyder, the housewife who turned murderess.
Femme fatale. Not how you say it.
Sneaky footsteps in the night, clues that vanish out of sight. Grab your hat and magnifying glass. We'll talk this case and have a blast. Mugshot Mysteries, we're on the trail. Twists and turns that never fail. Laughs and chills, it's quite the show. Who did it? Tune in to know.
Before she became a name in headlines, Ruth Snyder began life as Mae Ruth Brown. She was born on March 27, 1895, in New York City, one of a small working-class Scandinavian families. A girl, she was considered fragile, the sort of sickly youngster that you'd best protect. And Ruth left school after 8th grade and began working during the day at a telephone company. And while studying shorthand and business classes by night, she showed that she was ambitious and determined, but she was dreaming of so much more. In 1915, at age 20, she met Albert Edward Snyder, a handsome art editor 13 years her senior, who worked for Motorboating magazine. The connection wasn't by chance. His handsome exterior and steady income stood in sharp contrast to her restless spark. They married soon after, and by 1918, their daughter Lorraine was born. Their family moved from Brooklyn to the Bronx and eventually settled into a larger home in Queens Village, symbols of upward mobility in early 1920s New York. On paper, Ruth had it all: a home, money in the bank, even a radio and car. But beneath the surface lay a lonely wife. Ruth was vivacious, sociable, nicknamed Tommy by friends who loved her energy. Albert was quiet. He mourned his late fiancée, Jessie Gouchard, comparing Ruth to her often, and he openly displayed mementos of Jessie in their home. Their interests diverged. He tinkered and gardened. She longed for glamour parties and attention. And even her own mother worried and advised divorce. But Ruth stayed. So when Ruth met a traveling corset salesman named Henry Judd Gray in 1925, someone who made her feel seen, she clung to that spark. And what came next didn't happen in a vacuum. It was born from desire, loneliness, and a yearning for meaning. And that yearning would change everything. Queens, mid-1920s. Picture this, a quiet residential street, porches lined with flower pots, neighbors who measured morality by lace curtains and Sunday hats. And in a neat little house lived Ruth Brown Snyder. Outwardly, she was respectable, married, a mother, running her home with care. But beneath the veneer, discontent simmered. Her husband, Albert Snyder, was older, stoic, meticulous. He worked as an art editor at Motorboating magazine, steady, reliable, and painfully dull. But worse than dull, he was haunted by a woman Ruth could never compete with, his fiancée, who had died years before. Albert kept her photograph framed in the house, initials etched on keepsakes like shrines. For Ruth, it was a wound that was reopened daily. She wasn't living with Albert. She was living with a ghost. And Ruth wanted more, attention, excitement, and desire. And in 1925, she found it in the unlikely form of Henry Judd Gray, the corset salesman. He wasn't glamorous. He was nervous, soft around the edges, and married himself. But in Ruth's eyes, he was oxygen, someone who saw her, someone who touched her, who whispered the possibility of escape. Their affair was furtive at first. Hotel rooms in Manhattan, names scribbled in registers under aliases, a kind of dangerous play acting, where every knock on the door could end for them both. But for Gray, it was passion. For Ruth, it was leverage. Because escape wasn't enough. Ruth didn't want to just leave Albert. She wanted to profit from his absence. And Albert had something worth more to Ruth than any corset salesman's devotion. A life insurance policy with a clause called double indemnity. Albert Snyder may have been dull, but on paper, he was valuable. He carried a life insurance policy, and not just any policy. This one had a clause that doubled the payout in death, even if it came by accident. Double indemnity. In the 1920s, $100,000 was an unimaginable fortune. Enough to vanish with Gray, enough to buy freedom and luxury, enough to transform Ruth's life from lace curtains and boredom into something dazzling. So Ruth began to push. She pressed Albert to sign. And when he hesitated, the paperwork seemed to appear anyway. Some said forged, others said fraudulently coaxed. However, it did happen. And by 1927, the policy was real, binding, and deadly. It wasn't long before Ruth's whispered meetings with Gray turned from passion to plotting. Their conversations grew darker, shifting from, when can I see you? To, how can we be rid of him? Gray was hesitant. He loved Ruth. Yeah, sure. But he was not a killer. Still, Ruth was persuasive. She painted Albert as cruel, domineering, suffocating. She promised Gray a life together, free from secrets, free from fear. And Gray, weak-willed and pliable, bent beneath her will. And by spring of 1927, the plan was in place. Albert must die, and it must look like an accident. On March 20th, 1927, the Snyder home is still. Upstairs, 9-year-old Lorraine sleeps soundly. Downstairs, Albert sits in his chair, the evening paper spread across his lap. He has no idea he's minutes from death. Gray is there, fumbling, sweating, heart racing. He loops picture wire around Albert's throat, pulling tight. Albert thrashes, fights back with desperate strength. Ruth leaps in, shoving chloroform-soaked rags into his mouth. The struggle is fierce, chaotic, nothing like the clean, silent death that they had imagined. And finally, Gray snatches up a heavy iron sash weight, the kind used to hold up windows, and brings it down again and again and again until Albert stops moving. The room is thick with the smell of chloroform and iron. Ruth straightens, breathless but calm. The deed is done, and now comes the saging. Together, she and Gray scattered papers, overturned drawers, throw silverware about. They tie Ruth's wrists loosely with cloth, and when police arrive, she sobs out her script. 2 huge men burst in. They tied me up. They robbed the place. They killed Albert. But detectives in New York have seen plenty of burglaries. And this one, yeah, too neat, too staged. The supposed stolen items are still hidden inside the house. The bindings on Ruth's wrists could be slipped off with ease. And then came the real mistake. An investigator spots a trinket on Albert's desk, a memento with the initials JG. He holds it up and he just casually asks about it. And Ruth blurts, "Oh, that must stand for Judd Gray." She had given them her lover's name before they even mentioned a suspect. And within hours, Gray is picked up in Syracuse. Terrified and trembling, he folds. Instantly, he confesses the whole plan, and he names Ruth as the mastermind. The housewife's carefully staged performance collapses into dust. The trial of Ruth Snyder and Judd Gray wasn't just a court case. It was a carnival. Reporters crammed into the gallery. Tabloids screamed new headlines daily. And Ruth, the housewife from Queens, was transformed into a character on a national stage. They called her the vampire wife, the synthetic blonde murderess, the ice woman. Her photographs ran beside stories dripping in innuendo. Papers compared her to a movie villain, a cold-hearted seductress who had bent a weak man to her will. Gray, for his part, wept on the stand. He painted himself as bewitched, helpless under Ruth's spell. Reporters hung on his every word, scribbling down his claim that Ruth looked into my eyes until I just couldn't think straight. The tabloids devoured it. Outside the courtroom, vendors sold mock tickets to the trial, pins shaped like sash weights, even cheap pamphlets retelling the story. Thousands crowded the steps just to glimpse Ruth being let in, her face powdered, her lips rogued, her expression defiant. But behind the theatrics, the verdict was never in doubt. Both Ruth and Gray were convicted of first-degree murder, both sentenced to die in the chair. The Jazz Age had its villains, and now it had its ending. January 12th, 1928, the day of reckoning. At Sing Sing prison, the atmosphere is heavy, electric. Reporters line the witness room and their pens still, waiting. Ruth Snyder walks to the chair. Her hair is shorn, her dress plain, her lips trembling, but set. She sits and a strap tightens across her wrist. She whispers her last words. "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do." The switch is thrown, and in the gallery, Tom Howard raises his leg. The concealed camera clicks at the very instant Ruth convulses, capturing an image no one had ever dared to publish before. Hours later, as New Yorkers wake and newsboys cry out from the street corners, the front page of the Daily News is Howard's blurred, haunting photograph, the first public image of an execution in America. And above it, in bold, black letters, one word: dead. The issue sells out immediately. Millions of copies fly off stands. Some readers are horrified, others fascinated, but all of them are talking about it. And in that moment, Ruth Snyder is no longer just a murderer. She is a symbol, her death immortalized in ink and image. But here's the thing. Ruth Snyder's story didn't just end with her death. It marked a turning point in how America consumed crime. The 1920s were the golden age of tabloids. Newspapers thrived on scandal, and nothing scandalized more than a beautiful woman turned killer. Ruth's trial wasn't just covered, it was performed. And on every headline, every photograph was crafted to sell, to shock, and to satisfy the public's appetite for sensation. But the setting mattered too. The Snyder murder didn't happen in some shadowy back alley of Manhattan. It happened in Queens Village. And at that time, Queens was still new territory in the city's story. It had only been consolidated into New York in 1898. And by the Jazz Age, the borough was rapidly expanding. New bridges, trolley lines, and the Long Island Railroad gave middle-class families a chance to leave crowded Manhattan and Brooklyn for tree-lined streets and single-family homes. Queens Village was marketed as exactly that, safe suburban respectability. Between 1920 and 1930, the population of Queens nearly doubled, filled with families chasing space, fresh air, and a quieter life. A home like the Snyders, radio in the living room, a car in the driveway, that was a symbol of that dream, that exact dream, which is precisely why the murder shook people so deeply. If a crime this violent could happen in a tidy Queens house, Then even suburbia wasn't safe. And then came the execution photo. That blurred image of Ruth in the electric chair shattered the lines between justice and spectacle. It forced Americans to ask, should death be private or public, punishment or entertainment? Culturally, Ruth's story echoed long after. It inspired James M. Cain's Double Indemnity, a blueprint for noir, where ordinary people kill for money and passion. It fueled Sophie Treadwell's Mechanical, an expressionist play about women suffocating in domestic life until murder seems like escape. Ruth Snyder was both a criminal and a cultural figure, proof that in the Jazz Age, crime wasn't just punished, it was sold. Okay, so Ruth is like no other that we've told. So let me ask you some questions, and I want to start with this one. Why do we so often villainize women like Ruth as ice queens or femme fatales instead of just seeing them as criminals? Is it society struggling to accept that women can be just as cold and calculated as men? What do you think?
Yes. So femme fatale.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's French for fatal woman.
Oh, okay. So she's a Frenchman.
Yeah, she's a French woman. No, I saw a picture of her. She looks French. You know what?
You know what? She's not. She was Scandinavian and Norwegian.
It's funny because I look at like the old flappers. It seems like really French influenced. I don't know that to be true, but I just noticed that. I don't know. Yeah. Maybe we'll look that up. I thought you would know that. You're fashionista.
Well, you talk about the flappers. I'm thinking the 20s. Like, I don't know. Maybe it goes.
Well, yeah, this is like 20.
We're in the Jazz age.
7, 9, what was it?
Yeah, we're in the 20s.
Yeah. So, I mean, well, we're about to get to the Great Depression, but, let's have fun right now, Ruth.
With murder.
We're having fun. Okay, so let me ask you a question first.
Okay.
When you hear femme fatale, like, you don't feel like that's derogatory, right? Like, as a female.
No, it takes me back to like my Britney Spears loving days. I think she had a femme fatale song or an album. I can't quite remember, but I'm just like, yeah, do you want a piece of me? And I'm singing her song. So that's where I go.
I know the song. Okay, but yeah, so right, I feel like that's what all the women singers are going for, right?
Yeah.
Like from like Madonna to Lady Gaga and to Britney Spears, it was always like
a Bonds girl.
Like, are they a good girl? Are they a bad girl? Like, that's the whole trope. So, like, I feel like when we say femme fatale, it's like that is something that's a positive thing. So,
yeah.
Okay, so we did a chat thing. So, ChatGPT, we asked it to roast this girl right here.
Me?
Right? Yes.
Oh my gosh, we did.
And we kept on trying. We were like, no, meaner. No, meaner.
I think I even said, make me cry.
And everything was just like, yeah, I kind of like that. It was just like, you're a witch, whatever it was. And it was just like, you know what? Hey, like as a woman who wants to be like, like independent and powerful, like these are all great compliments.
Yeah, I was like, thank you, chat. You're so kind.
You think I'm a witch? Oh, I love it. So I think that's what's funny about this when I hear it. I'm like, girls, and that's just like great. Like, call me a femme fatale. Like, this is awesome. So I think ultimately what it comes down to is men are scared of a woman acting like this without having to try to like come up with a reason, So it's almost like they're not even women. To do this, you can't even be a woman. You have to be like this whole separate entity. You're a femme fatale. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's like you're not even almost real. You're like this fictional thing.
Yeah.
Because how could we expect women to do this? Like don't you think after this happened, all these men were just like waking up in the middle of the night, like a little sweaty, and they're just like looking over, and there's like, little Martha, and they're like, oh my God. Like,
I'm sure their neighbors were. They're like, oh my God, was my wife friends with her? What did she teach her? Which, by the way, I believe she tried to kill him 7 other times unsuccessfully. So this wasn't even her first attempt.
Oh, she was doing like that.
So can you imagine her social hour?
Was she like putting like Windex? Did they have Windex back then? Like Windex.
Her form of it. Yeah. She was trying a lot. So who knows what she was saying at those lady luncheons.
Yeah. Well, I mean, honestly, I think this is like the feminist movement. Like, because this was a really, this was a really big deal. Like, I don't mean, we're not
The
making a big deal
feminist
about
movement.
it. Well, no, because this whole event was a really big news story. Like, it's a
it was
noteworthy
massive.
news story.
Mm-hmm.
And I think ultimately this kind of goes together with that, maybe like that 1920s, like flapper, roaring 20s, like women are. By the way, let's all remember that women could not vote until 1920.
Yeah.
The 19th Amendment did not come into effect until 1920. So we're not talking about a real whole wonderful history of women's rights here. And I think to a point, this is almost like, I don't know, liberates. Like, I honestly think if you took a poll back then and you know, they wouldn't say this like in front of their husbands,
Mm-hmm.
but there was probably like a lot of women that were like, yeah, you go, Ruth. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, she married up. She married for money. I guess if you have nothing, right? I think she might have completed 8 years of education, if I can remember correctly. But she got married at like in 1915. So shortly before suffrage. So I guess in her mind, at that time, she didn't have those rights. So what can I do to make my life better, more glamorous? And she would have thought, you know, an art editor for Motorboating magazine would at least provide her those luxuries. And then plot twist, he was in love with his dead fiance and she never did get that. And so I think that was her desperately seeking for the things that she couldn't have at that time. And then now we have voting. Do you think that voting gave her a spark of like, ooh, we got some independence. Now I'm going to kill. Or am I just taking that too far? Too far?
She's like, yeah, I can vote for a congressman and murder this man with chloroform. No, I mean, maybe. I kind of highly doubt it. Like, that was the pushing point. She probably had some, probably had some issues, you know, to kind of get to this point in time. Issues. And, you know, who knows, like, you know, I don't know, the psychologist of the day may have put her on a spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're like, she has sociopathic tendencies. She has psychopathic tendencies. So I don't know. I don't know if they ever actually like got the opportunity to really interview her because, well, no, I shouldn't say that because I know they did interview her, right? Like in prison or was it more like just what was said on the stand? Because this was like the O.J. Simpson trial.
It was. A lot of it was things that were said during the trial.
Because I definitely heard some of these lines. And I mean, I got to admit, I can just imagine this had everything. This literally had like everything you could want. And I think it was surprising enough that it just captured all of humanity. No, but, and then it's like, it's topped with that picture. You know, and the fact that somebody was able to take that off their shoe, it was a camera on the shoe.
So disturbing. Like, I will not be posting the picture because there's also crime scene pictures. I can't.
It's not that bad,
you can look it up. Yeah, you can look it up, but like, I don't want to get TikTok banned. That's the thing.
Okay. Well, I will say this. I thought it would be worse, but we're talking about like 1920 bad, and we see way worse things. So, which is probably something we should talk about at some point in time. So anyways, going back to this, I think ultimately it was just, it was fear. Like this was a scary thing, I think, for men in general and like how this affects and challenges the patriarchy.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think it has something to do with the feminist movement, or at least we could tie it to that because this is like, this is horrible, right? And we probably should also talk about how easy it is for us to distance ourselves away from the actual victims of these crimes.
Sure.
You know, but we're so just drawn to the mystery of it and the darkness of this because we have like that dark part of us, and we're thinking to ourselves, well, I would never do this. However, I'm pretty interested on how this person did do it. So, I would say ultimately, you know, it's a little scary for a man to be challenged, and it's probably worse then when again they had just got the ability to vote not too long ago. But this is also something that's like historic, right? So, what do you think Eve would have been considered? You know,
what do I think he would have been considered?
No, Eve. You know, Adam, Eve.
Oh,
she's like the femme fatale. You know, like everybody blames Eve for everything.
Is she the OG?
She's one of them. You know, like what do you get? Cleopatra. I mean, you got these examples throughout history that precede this, of course. You know?
I mean, I think she's giving Cersei Lannister, but
vampires, like, you know, witches. Like, I feel like these are all kind of the same things. It's like this like this is underlining fear that a woman's going to take power, and be able to kind of have their own agency.
Mm-hmm.
So, like we talked about benevolent sexism, and I think that part of this is we expect certain things from women, right? Like they're the nurturing ones or the caring ones. Obviously, this girl was not either of those things. So again, it's like we feel like we need to, help women with all these different things like math, like we're like, hey, let's help you with this math. Don't worry about how much this is 30% off.
It was geometry I told you I struggled with. Let's not exaggerate.
Okay, Pythagoras. Okay, so ultimately, I think it just it goes with the fact that we're not ready for this kind of independence. And I think to a point, we're codependent on the fact that women do fall into these tropes.
Mm-hmm.
And it almost gives men validation to know that women need our help. And this not only sounds like a woman that didn't need our help, it sounded like a woman that convinced this man to do exactly what she wanted him to do. Maybe not because she needed the help, but maybe because she wanted a fall guy.
Oh, she definitely wanted a fall guy. She turned on him so fast. Like she was quoted, literal, direct quote. I saw Judd Gray beating my husband over the head. I grabbed him by the neck in an attempt to save my husband, and he pushed me so I fell. And when I fell, I fainted. And when I came to, it was all over. I mean, I quickly turned on Judd. Fall guy.
She rolled over pretty quickly.
Yeah, that was her courtroom testimony.
Yeah, so she was able to, and then again, these are all like the, throughout history, these are all the different tropes with different names, so like what she lured him in, seduced him,
mm-hmm.
With compliments, but by the way, I told you that, right? That you just got to give guy compliments.
Yeah, you said that.
Yeah, we're all like little boys at heart trying to please our mother, It's like, you're so good at that, son. And we're like, okay, great. Yeah, I'm the best runner in the world. I can draw anything. No, I see. That's all you have to do. So like, for example, I know that you can cook,
mm-hmm.
but you're always like, oh, you're the best cook. And guess what? I know you can cook, but I still cook for you. Right?
Because you're the best cook.
I'm like, oh my God, how is she going to eat? She's going to starve to death. I gotta make her something.
I'll survive off of lean pockets.
Well, I do think that most of the time, people not in relationships are skinnier, mostly because, like when you decide when you want to go out, you're like, what should we do? You're like, I don't know. Let's just go out to eat, I guess. And then you eat. And then at home, you're like, what should we do together? Well, I guess I should cook for you,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But see, on the flip side, and you tell me if I'm right, compliments don't work on girls.
Not
Honey,
in that
your
respect.
Laundry always smells so good. Like, that doesn't work on you.
Yeah, because I'd be like, that's cute. Put your clothes in the laundry basket next time. Okay? They smell even better if they were in the laundry basket so I could wash them.
How about this?
That's how it would go.
Honey, you look so pretty in that dress. That's like 1/10 of the power, that compliment from getting it somewhere else. You're like, oh, great. I'm glad you think I'm pretty. Like,
that's not true.
I care.
That is not true. There's a difference between the two. One, you're going to be met with that sarcastic response. The other, it's like, thanks for noticing. Like, thanks. I appreciate that. And then you get the little warm fuzzies.
Well.
Like, you look beautiful.
I got to give you variable reinforcement. You know what I mean?
I guess so.
Yeah.
Work on it. We'll report back.
You're like, did he say it this time? No, I only give it to you 33% of the time.
That's rude.
33% of the time. It works every time.
Oh my gosh.
No, but I think, she challenged the norms and the femme fatale. Okay. So actually, let me introduce something that was pretty fun.
Okay.
So there is this concept of, it's the Madonna whore theory. I know, right? I was reading about this. I love that because it's not what you think it is, I
have so many thoughts. I have 2 thoughts.
Yeah, Madonna is not a whore in this scenario.
Okay.
So I know we know a Madonna. And I don't know if she was trying to do a play on this, to be honest with you. But it's a Freudian thing. Mm-hmm. And the idea is that there's 2 types of women. There's the Madonna, which is like, well, the stereotypical woman. She's pure, she's nurturing, all the good stuff. We know all the good stuff, right? And then the whore is the one that men actually feel like they can, confidently, seduce and do things, like the darker side of human relations. And that's the whore. And we can't have both of them. See, that's the thing. So a man is basically putting maybe like his wife or somebody else on a pedestal. But because of that, he expects perfection. Whereas if a woman merely just likes to sleep with people, she's a whore. Like, that's it. There's no like differentiating. So it's a kind of a cool little,
So it's like how Taylor Swift gets victimized.
It's all like all women get victimized, I guess.
But she's a pretty current famous one, has lots of boyfriends, whore. Meanwhile, other person has lots of girlfriends. Yeah, man. You go.
Good for you, man. No, I think it's still, it's still a valid concept. And I do think that it exists, right? It doesn't explain everything.
Sure.
But I think that's true. Like when I was reading about that, I was like, yeah, I get that. Because sometimes you do put somebody on a pedestal, whereas you almost don't feel like you can't have like a normal sexual relationship with somebody that you put on this pedestal, even though like they didn't put themselves on this pedestal. Like they're like, can I get down? Like, I don't want you to treat me like this. I'm good. Like, I'm a normal person. I can get down too.
Yeah. Wow.
No, but it's an interesting thought. And I think the idea is that they cannot be together, and I think the femme fatale is kind of a way to try to bring those two things together into one person. And ultimately, it's not really viewed as, I guess, a good thing at the end of the day, this femme fatale character. I mean, would you say so? Like, in a male's perspective, are we actually trying to be derogatory with it?
No.
Oh, you don't think so?
Do I think a guy is trying to be derogatory when they say that's a femme fatale?
Exactly. Yes, that's the question.
I guess maybe
For
just
a girl,
because...
no. You guys like this. This is a compliment.
Yeah. I guess I could see where it would be an insult for a guy to think that or classify you like, hey, you're the girl that I'm going to take home to meet my mom, girl next door. You're the girl that might be a wild, fun ride. That is definitely not going to go home and meet my mom, femme fatale.
Yeah, she's not the Madonna, unfortunately.
Right?
No, I agree. Now, I do think, so film noir, I think, really exploded after World War II. And there was this real feeling of men, when they came home and like their job was being done by a woman, Rosie the Riveter,
women's baseball. No.
Yeah, women's baseball. Women can't play baseball. No, it's you don't cry.
Madonna comes full circle.
You don't cry in baseball. What is it?
There ain't no crying in baseball.
Oh yeah. Angry Tom Hanks, angry drunk Tom Hanks. It's the best Tom Hanks. So I think that it really started evolving after that because I think there was even more insecurity for men at that point in time. Because it's like that old trope where, and you've kind of done it before. You like went out of town for like a day and a half, 2 days, whatever it was, and your thought is like, I don't know how he's going to do it. If he has kids, how is he going to be able to do this? Because, I don't know that he can do it without me. And, the wife comes home and they're like, how was it? Was it horrible? And you're like, no, it was fine. And like a part of you is like, oh, they don't need me. And all these men came home and they're like, oh, wow, they don't need us, really. They were doing fine on their own.
Until they looked closer and realized that dad had sent the kids to school with nuts in their lunchbox at a nut-free school. I'm just saying.
Well, there's plenty of boys there, so it's not a nut-free school.
Oh, my gosh. Heyo.
Yeah, right. Dad jokes. So I think it was, I think that's part of the reason why it became so popular. But I think when guys say it, there's some admiration because do you know what I think the new term for basically a femme fatale is?
What?
Manic pixie girl.
You think so?
Yeah, I think that's kind of where this comes from. Manic pixie girl. You know why?
It's the new it girl.
Well, because a femme fatale in reality probably is not like something that exists necessarily, And I think Man and Pixie Girl, they're all. Here's the point: both of these people were made up by men.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go. It's our fantasy of the perfect, exciting woman, I guess, who might kill you.
So we're talking about the death, and I think this is a good segue to my next question for you. It's kind of like the power of having two. So what do you think happens psychologically when two people, in this case, Ruth and Gray, feed off each other's weaknesses and desires until they've literally convinced themselves murder is the only option? Like, how does that dynamic escalate when alone they might never have acted, but now together they're like, yeah, this is a grand idea. Let's do this.
So I think, people are dark.
Very.
Yeah, we're dark. Deep down, we all have a very dark side. Can't argue that because human beings, for as long as we've existed, have done really, 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 really bad things.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the question could be, what happens psychologically when people feed off each other's weaknesses and desires until they convince themselves that blank is the only option?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's murder, maybe it's other things. But the idea is that it's always the same, and it doesn't have to be just two, but having a pair does have its own, psychological edge to it because you got two. So you're really only dealing with two people in the echo chamber.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a story. Let's call it the toilet paper incident.
Okie dokie.
Yeah, that's what I've come up with. When I was about, let's say 7th grade. So what is that, like 12?
Yeah, let's say so.
Yeah, 12 is a weird time. We already know 12 is a very weird time for boy. So my parents were out of town. They went to Vegas. My sister is older. She was having a party. Well, I invited my friends. They didn't even tell their parents that my parents weren't home. So we were like, we were getting ready. And I think we rented striptease from Blockbuster.
Oh my gosh.
Because I don't know, man.
Boobs.
Because that's what we could get, I guess. And it was horrible.
Boys and boobs.
It was a really bad idea, but it was exciting at the time. We also saw Barbed Wire. Do you remember that with Pamela Anderson? Barbed Wire.
I never saw it, but I definitely have heard of it.
Yeah. Also a really bad movie, unsurprisingly. So we're all set. We're like pumped up, and there's a party going on too. And we're the younger kids, and like that's kind of getting wild. And I think it might have been in and around Halloween time. So like people are in like their outfits. And so we decide that we should go toilet papering.
Mm-hmm.
And this is not something that these kids do, because some of my friends, and they are the most straight-laced people in the world. So
they're not the wildest bunch.
So this was really something where we had to feed off each other. They were like one person had the thought. Now there's just like this feedback loop, and we're all thinking, you know what, this is a great idea. Let's go ahead as really straight-laced kids who don't even know how to do trouble. We weren't troublemakers.
Yeah.
That we're going to go do this. So we do like seriously like two houses like right next to our house. So we don't really have anywhere to run anyway. So we're just like, the old saying, don't do where you live. So like, and then my straight-laced friend, he's just like laying a line of toilet paper on a bush. Like he doesn't really know how toilet papering even works. Now, and then one of my friends, in an act of brilliance, decides to doorbell ditch a house.
Ding dong ditch?
Ding dong, yeah, doorbell, the ding dong ditch, right? And he goes wild. And of course, we're dumb, so we didn't really even move on from that house. We were maybe like a house down, after we did it. So there wasn't really much ditching or running.
No.
So
it was ding dong, hey.
It was ding dong, we're next door. And so all of a sudden I see this man running through the street with his dog, and he gets...
Not the dog.
Yeah, it was a dog. It wasn't a big dog, though. It was like,
doesn't matter.
It was like a small dog. So I see him with two of my friends, and me and my other friend, we like dive in a bush. And it was totally the guy. He had called the police. The police showed up, put these 12-year-old kids in a police car, called their parents. Their parents are like, what are you talking about? His parents aren't even there. Now we're just hiding in a bush like for an hour because now we think we're like criminals. You know, like
I live here now.
We're like, if the cops come, you know, we might have to grab the gun. Like, you know.
Oh my God. The gun that you guys totally had in your like waistline of your pants.
We were totally ready for everything because at this point in time, our moral compass had flown out the window. We're like, it's us against the world.
You're fugitives now.
We were fugitives, yeah. And I'm not lying to you when we say we hid in this bush for like probably an hour and then slinked out and then like made it slowly back to my house. And meanwhile, they took him to the police station. They literally took these 12-year-olds to the police station for doing this.
I cannot believe you.
So long story short, my straight-laced friends would never have done this if there wasn't some sort of group dynamic here that was kind of pushing them to do it. So there is the term, and this is French. You ready for it?
Ready.
Okay. Filet da.
Great accent. I'm very proud of you.
Oui, oui, filet da. So it means a madness of two.
Okay.
And this occurs when like one person's like distorted thinking becomes shared. It reinforces the other person. So like, for example, in isolation, she was probably having these thoughts like, oh man, I wish I could kill him right now. Oh my God, look at the way he chews. Oh my God, I hate the way he cuts that steak. But she's not going to do anything. Well, now she has somebody to kind of bounce these ideas off. And together they reinforce that destructive thought and it starts getting like validated and amplified. So they are now in twos, right? They're able to disengage from this like moral compass. Like me and my friend, dude, we were ready for anything at this point in time, right? We were down to make a sprint for it if we had to. And all of a sudden it's like, you know, we're both emboldened by this. We have an accomplice. We're in together. And it just like escalates through this continued validation that we're ready for anything.
Yeah.
And in their particular situation, it's like one of those things, you know, where you're like, I wish I could just kill him. JK, you know, and you're waiting to see if the other person.
But also wink, wink.
Yeah, you're waiting to see if the other person is going to jump on it. So I think that's kind of like some of the reasons. And I think that's kind of what happened. You know, they're in isolation, right? So there's nobody to check their reality. Like all of a sudden their reality starts shifting. They're like, you know what? We can murder somebody. And they're like, yeah, we can murder somebody. And there's no third party to be like, nah, guys, you don't murder people. And so they're like isolated. And when you're isolated together, you just have no perspective anymore.
Yeah. So it's like Gypsy Rose and Nicholas Godejohn. How do you not know? Oh my gosh, Gypsy. So she's the one who convinced this boyfriend she met online, Nicholas Godejohn. It was like, I think 2015. So about 10 years ago, convinced him that he should kill her mother and they could go live a life together because her mother was the one that was subjecting her to the years of medical abuse and control. I'll probably say it wrong. Was it Munchausen's or Munchausen's disease? Remember, she just recently got out of jail. And she's like married and pregnant, but.
Is this like a Netflix documentary?
Well, of course there is, but this was like massive media. Like Gypsy Rose was getting like Make-A-Wish things. Like the mom made everybody think that she was so sick. Cancer. So anything that could be wrong was wrong. Put her through these procedures, like just deteriorated the body. And you can understand where she kind of like snapped, but it wasn't Godejohn's idea. Gypsy never carried out the murder itself, but she convinced him to do it for her. So I think to your point, that is our pop culture reference of the power of two.
That's like, what's that movie? Oh gosh. The Craft? Is that it?
Oh my God. Are you talking about the which one with Nicole Kidman?
No. The one with the three girls. Light as a feather.
Stiff as a board.
Stiff as a board. No? All right. Well.
So yeah, you're talking about the movie that has Neve Campbell, right?
Yes. No, it's not Neve Campbell. No. It's the crazy girl who likes Bobby Boucher. No.
Isn't that Robin Tooney?
Yes, it's that one.
Yeah, that's the movie.
Is Neve Campbell in there?
Yeah, Neve is one of them. Robert Tooney and Rachel True.
Okay. So there's 4 of them?
There's 4 of them.
Oh, okay. Well, I thought there's 3. Yeah. I just wanted to say.
You were clearly only looking at 3.
I just wanted to say that. So another fun one is one-upsmanship.
Mm-hmm. The one-upper?
Yeah, because this is also a big one, right, in our lives. Like, do you remember the ghost pepper challenge?
Yeah.
Okay. Like, what was that the dumbest thing that we've ever seen? And well, it's one of those, like, where you're like, I don't understand why people are going to the ER because they're trying to eat a ghost pepper because somebody dared them.
It's one of the dumbest. The Tide Pod eating challenge was pretty.
But was that even real?
Dumb. Yes.
Are we sure that was actually real?
We are so sure, because that's when we had to start locking them up at the grocery stores because people were doing stupid things.
Are we sure that it wasn't one person and then it just ruined my laundry forever? Like, are we sure?
No, it was a thing.
Well, anyways, I do remember the ghost pepper challenge. I remember my cousin did it, and he was pretending he was fine the whole day, you know?
But he wasn't.
Yeah, bro, I'm fine. And then you're like, dude, you've been to the bathroom 7 times today. So I'm kind of thinking you're not. And your eyes are wandering profusely.
I wonder if it was painful.
It is. I imagine these people went to the ER. Anyways, yeah, people will do a lot of things if somebody challenges them to do it. So there you go.
It's true.
Another dynamic. So she might have been like, you really, well, maybe she was. You're not a man. She probably said something like that, right?
I don't know how.
You're not man enough to do this. And then as a man, ooh.
I'll show you.
Yeah. If we get that one, then that's going to like make us do probably like 8 out of 10 things.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I'll give it a try.
Well, I mean, I'm not going to like you.
Okay, fine. I won't give it a try.
I'll probably do it.
I would rather you like me.
We call that a toxic relationship.
Yeah, no, we don't have that.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm. All right, so was this crime truly about money, or was money just the excuse for a deeper drive? Because remember, it's all stemming around, this is what I'm going to get from him. It's going to be lucrative. So like Ruth's desperation to escape her marriage, her resentment to Albert, her hunger for control. How do you untangle the overlapping motives in a case like this?
So I think it's like all of the above, right? That's like D, all of the above, because I think it was about the money, but because I think it was about the money. You know, I know that was probably a byproduct of the
like
other
the catalyst.
Things. I don't know if it was a catalyst. I think
or the straw that broke the camel's back.
Yeah, it's like the cherry on top. You know, okay. It was like, okay, we do have this reward if we do this. But she obviously wanted to escape her marriage, so it seems. She was obviously resentful of him. And I think that, yeah, it's not ABC, it's D. But, so because psychologists are wicked smart, right? Mm-hmm. Wicked smart psychologists.
Okay, Good Will Hunting. Hi, I didn't know that we were going to have an appearance from you today. Welcome to the pod.
Yeah, psychologist, man. You guys rock. So they don't usually look for one smoking gun, and because there usually isn't one. Now, like if you're prosecuting somebody, you are, right? That's literally where a smoking gun comes from, because you find the smoking gun and you're like, this is it. We're winning this case. Mm-hmm. But if you're really going to take a step back, there's a bunch of things that are going on. So they can look at this like stacking of motives. So the base layer for her, it's like a cake. Mm-hmm. The base layer is like maybe she's unhappy. She's like resentful of her marriage. Then you're talking about like the filling, and the filling, she has like this deep desire for a new life, a new lover. Maybe not that guy. She kind of seemed like she wasn't that into him. You know what I mean? So like, she might have dropped him. If she got away with it, she might have dropped him. Or
she was going to drop him.
Yeah. Or she was going to find another guy to murder this guy. And then it just keeps going on and on. You know what I mean?
Ooh,
it's like one of those paintings within a painting. It's
poor
Inception.
Lorraine, her daughter. My gosh.
It's femme fatale Inception. And then you have the top layer, and it's like the most practical one, right? She wants money. Mm-hmm. So that's the easiest one. And they probably wanted to see all of those things, like the public did. And that actually probably was what, happened. And so if you are a profiler, I know you love that, right?
Oh my gosh, so much. I love Criminal Minds because you get to kind of get a look into the BAU.
Okay. Well, they usually do a before, during, and after. So before, and this is like part of tracing back the actual crime. So yes, kind of part of it is like, yes, why did they do it? The other part of it is very practical, pragmatic. What happened and why did it happen? And when did it happen? And what was the order of it? So it's like before she took out the insurance policies. She did that way before meeting, what's the name, Judd?
The name, yeah.
Yeah, that's her bae.
Yes.
Okay.
That's her bae.
That's her Sancho. Okay, so she took these out way before meeting him. So she's like starting this before this even happened. So like the plan hasn't evolved yet. And there's a good chance, like, do you really think she thought of it then? You know, maybe like fantasy, but maybe she was just like, what if he like falls off a cliff or something?
I would love to know what her 7 other attempts were. Her failed 7
attempts. I know,
attempts.
you said that. And I was like, okay, how do we know that? And what were they?
I believe it came out in court.
They were probably really like limp, right? You know? She was like, I put a lot of salt in his food. I was giving that man hypertension. I was playing along.
Rat poison.
Well, man, there's rat poison probably would have worked out. That's the thing.
Arsenic and Old Lace, great movie. You should watch it.
What is that about?
Kind of similar concept.
Really? Like old?
Yeah, it's like a black and white. So good.
Oh my God. You're like such a movie-nista. Is that a word?
Like a virtuoso, a movieoso.
Well, you know, like, so people like to watch like one black and white movie and then they watch like Boondock Saints and then they watch like, you know, Pulp Fiction. And then, you know, they're like, bro, you don't even understand movies, man.
They're pompous. No, I will never claim to do that because the simple fact that I cannot describe a movie plot to any movie to save my life would take that card from me immediately. I sound like a bumbling buffoon trying to describe movies.
Well, you didn't really do a great job of describing that movie in any way.
I didn't try. It's just arsenic. All you need to know is it's arsenic and Old Lace.
Black and
it's
white.
Relative. It's a black and white with a similar concept.
Okay.
Murder.
I'll look it up. So yeah, they do the before part of it. In the part of that probably would have been like, has she tried this before? Yeah. So apparently she definitely had tried it before. And then you're doing like the during. Was the crime clean or was it messy and personal?
I mean, I saw the crime scene photos and it really wasn't like the messiest you would have expected it to be, especially since he was like bludgeoned. In the end, it wasn't too bad. But what?
These Netflix documentaries, man, they're totally making us just immune to anything. You're like, you know, it wasn't as messy as one would have thought. He was bludgeoned to death, but it was pretty clean bludgeoning.
I try not to like look. I was like peeking at it, like.
Well, it's probably black and white. It's probably a black and white picture too.
It was.
You know,
but when you watch a scary movie,
all those dark smudges on the picture, that was blood.
When you watch a scary movie and you kind of have your eyes open, your hands over, like somehow that little slit that you're watching it through makes it any better. That's kind of how I was looking at the pictures, and I went, can't look at that anymore.
Well, everybody, we're going to post that on TikTok.
No, we're not.
So you know,
you can Google it.
You'll be able to see all of them.
Oh my gosh,
up close and personal.
Oh my
in high resolution,
colorized.
No, I bet you that won't get flagged. You know,
yes,
it's the ones that shouldn't. You know, AI. You know, AI is going through all of them, so it's not like a person is doing this.
So then that's how we'll tell. Is it a bad crime scene or is it not? If AI is like, totally fine, it's going to be like, not a bad crime scene.
Yeah, AI likes bludgeoning, I'm sure.
When my account gets shut down, we'll know it was bad.
This is why our future is very scary.
Oh, Lord.
So, okay, so it was obviously messy. You can't tell me the way it was described. It was not messy and personal. It seemed pretty personal. I don't know that they went for efficient, you know, but anyways, so then they would do like the after, right? The after was she wanted money immediately. You know, she completely threw him under the bus immediately. They totally messed up the whole crime scene So again, this is going to point to like there was an emotional and, fantastical rationale going on. So I think that's how they would look at it, as being, this isn't just the question of it's just not the question of one or the other. So it would be more like, how did greed and desire for escape, reinforce each other to make this murder seem like a viable solution for Ruth Snyder?
Oh, there you have it.
Is that good? Is that a good title?
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah. Title for my new book.
All right. We'll be waiting to see it.
Documentary coming at Netflix 2026.
Can I somehow act in it?
Do you want to be Ruth Snyder?
No.
Literally, I don't know what other women.
I'm just going to be the nosy neighbor.
Oh, you would be good at that.
I think so. I think that's like where
they would just credit you as a pair of eyes looking through the blinds.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm into that. Let's make it happen.
Okay. But you're not gonna. I'm not like you're gonna be. What do they call it when you're not even like in the credits? Uncredited.
I'm gonna be uncredited.
Yeah.
No, my name in the movie will be Eyes, and then played by my name.
Yeah, I think you would really much like that.
Yeah. All right. Well, that was fun. So I've got one last question for you. And this one's the one that kind of just like sticks with me since, we've been talking about the crime scene. So the photo of Ruth's execution turned her crime into a cultural event. Do you think that publicizing death in this way actually deters crime? Or does it kind of risk glamorizing it, making killers more infamous instead of forgotten like perhaps they should be?
So I think we all know the answer to this because it is literally in our faces so much now.
Sadly.
And this is more than I've ever seen, obviously, because we have the ability to see this in so many different ways right now. So first, I should say that research suggests that publicized executions do not deter crime. Like, I get that's the old school feeling, right? You're like, oh, look, we hung this man. Now you guys aren't going to kill. And it doesn't work. So
gosh, you would think that would, because, I don't want that.
Well, people are dark. Remember this.
I guess I'm not a criminal.
So they actually have what they call the brutalization effect.
Okay.
So this means that actually after publicized executions, they think there is a temporary surge in violent crimes. Now,
what?
Yeah. Brutalization effect. So,
then.
there's not a tremendous amount of research on this, mind you.
That's enough to make me pause.
It's kind of speculated, and they do say that there's some proof of this. All to say, it's not for the reasons you would think, right? Wouldn't the reason you would think would be like because copycat crimes? You're like, so like, she murdered her husband. I'm gonna go murder my husband.
Like they're gonna honor them.
Yeah, but that's not even it. So this one is kind of interesting. So the idea is that the theory proposes that when the state kills somebody, even if it's legal, it sends a message to everybody that killing is an appropriate way to solve your problems. So basically, it's like it legitimizes violence in the public mind. So it's like the movie Purge.
Oh my gosh, I cannot watch it. The concept freaks me out.
Well, and that also goes back when we're going back to like the power of two. Well, it's the power of many, and the movie Purge. Whereas as soon as somebody starts doing it, everybody starts doing it because it legitimizes the idea. So it's like like mob mentality. But they do think that's a real thing. But I think the biggest takeaway for me is how gigantic the whole crime and murder, true crime thing is become.
I mean, yeah, she was kind of a catalyst for tabloids at the time, especially when the reporter snapped that picture. And so it certainly added to, kind of altered the way we consume that content. But like, are we really any different now than we were in 1928? I mean, look at us. There's Netflix, documentaries, which you've brought up multiple times on our podcast. TikTok certainly has series, but this podcast, even right now, there's so many podcasts that talk about it. Like, how are we any different now? This is just a new form of how we're consuming it. It's just, I think now we consume it more in masses.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess we are talking about true crimes here.
We are.
However, I would like to think that what we're trying to do, if anything, is a little bit different because I don't ever want to glamorize crime in any way.
I just want to understand.
Well, yeah, you want to understand something. You want to learn something. And you want to know how does life work in general, or at least how do all these smart people that came before us think life works? And some of it's true, some of it's not, or at least some of it you will think is true. But like, Sigmund Freud, we generally weeded out most of those theories as crap. But so you have, because you have Netflix, I always say, just because I literally, every time I go to Netflix, there's a new documentary. And people love it. They keep on making documentaries because people love it. So we have like this dark, maybe monstrous human trait in us where we're just drawn to it. And I think in part, again, it's because we don't imagine ourselves doing it. So we kind of want to learn about somebody else doing it, and it's just sells so well because I was reading that picture that they snuck with the Daily News, that newspaper sold millions of copies.
Oh, yeah. People had many reactions to it, whether it was, shock and outrage or just like, whoa, I got to read it. Like either side of the party you were on, you were still buying it and it flew off the newsstands. They could not keep up.
Yeah. And I think what's crazy is it was a huge story. And again, I don't mean to stereotype, but we all know there was less going on back then. There was less going on in the 90s. So every story became a big story. Now, there's so many Netflix, documentaries on, you can't even follow all of them. The news cycle really is, 24 hours now. That's why you got to report on the news like the moment it happens, because by tomorrow there's been 100 million people that have already talked about it.
And they're the people on Instagram who are listening to the police scanners and going out on the side of the road and reporting on it before the news crews can even get there. I mean, it is a wildly different world now in how we are reporting and then consuming the information. Our trusted sources are shifting.
Yeah, because our most trusted source is who? You always tell me.
Ourselves.
No, the most trusted source in news now. Yeah, it's the same thing. You got the human curiosity. It makes money, and you make famous people because we're still talking about Jeffrey Dahmer, and we don't talk about any of the victims. And I think we do know deep down that that's a troubling issue.
It is, but you know what? Sometimes I don't want to talk about the victim. I want to give them the privacy, the family, the privacy. And I respect that. Still talking about the criminal themselves is potentially glamorizing, but I agree with what you said. I would like to believe that's not what we're doing. We're learning their foundation. Where did they start? What kind of was their turning point in life? What was the catalyst for the crime? And then what was going on in the brain when it happened? Not necessarily, let's get into the nitty gritty of the crime. Let's tell it, like it's a case file. I mean, how often have you heard me say that I would have jumped at the opportunity to interview Charles Manson, and not because I thought he was this amazing guy that I just wanted to have this friendship with. I was just so fascinated by his brain. What makes a brain like that tick? And I think a lot of people do have that fascination. And is there enough out there talking about that to understand what makes the criminal mind tick? That's where my excitement comes from.
Excitement?
I don't know if excitement is the right word.
I think the same things that draw you to it are the same things that draw most people to it.
Intrigue. Intrigue's probably the word.
Yeah, it's intriguing just because in general we probably truly, don't think like people who are killing other people. There's definitely crimes of passion where it might have been one of those quote unquote could have happened to anybody. But then there's people that, have severe issues. So I get the fascination. But do you want to learn more about how we as people compartmentalize?
Oh, I've got a whole hallway full of them. Lots of compartments. Those lockers have names. When papers are hanging out there, I'm like, get back in. I did not say it was time for you to come out and play.
Well, the same reason why we don't seem to be bothered too much by listening about all these serial killers and real life murder mysteries and whatever. There's a lot of different reasons why we can kind of disassociate from it. And I don't know, is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? It is what it is, right? So the first thing like they would say is there's like this psychological distance. So this is like super, this is like just super simple thought experiment. Because something is far removed from you, it's like out of your reality. Like it's not true. So the true crime stories feel distant because, one, they happened in the past, even if it was quite recent. But when you're talking about things that happened in the past, like this, for example, there's like a certain part of you that is already away from it, you know, because you weren't there. You don't really know the time as well. So it is almost kind of like this fantasy subject. And it's kind of why history in general is difficult to comprehend, because we can hear the words, but it is hard to imagine. Could you imagine being a Civil War, soldier? I can't. I was thinking about that the other day. Could you imagine, being like a soldier from the South, walking through like farms trying to get food, when you're starving and whatever. So it's really hard to put yourself in people's shoes because it happened a long time ago, or it just happened in the past. And it happened to other people. And you know what? It happened somewhere else. So if something happens in New York and you live in Texas, that's already enough to kind of psychologically distance yourself. So you also had it happens to somebody else. So they would call that the narrative transportation, because you're dealing with other people's worlds. You're dealing with other people's suffering. It's not you. If it's not you, it's hard to imagine. So like if somebody tells you their arm is hurting, you're like, oh yeah, I'm sorry, your arm's hurting, but it's not hurting you.
Disassociate some.
Well, yeah. And it's kind of just human nature. So, and this one is kind of a tough one because it is a tough one. There is always that bad things happen to bad people. And
Karma?
That's also a way we like to, that's also a way like for us to psychologically consume these stories, because part of us is like, did they deserve it though? Like, for example, do we think this guy deserved to be murdered? Was he that boring? Maybe he was hitting her. Do we know?
Well, we know that he was missing his ex-fiance a whole heck of a lot. And that might have been something that made her tick.
Well, I mean, I kind of feel like you would be halfway to murder if I was doing that to you.
Yeah.
And maybe 3/4 of the way.
So, yeah, the picture's coming down.
So one of the other things is that we just like that stuff. It's like I don't know. It's like watching a horror movie. It's the same concept. It's because it's almost like we can consider it fake, but we're safe.
Yeah.
So we're talking about these people getting bludgeoned to death, but we're safe in our home. We're sitting on a cozy couch. So while it's like disgusting, we're totally disassociated from the real risk of it.
We've learned that publicizing death does not deter crime, and it does glamorize it, but not necessarily in the way that you think it would. Is that right?
No, I'd say that's right. I just think it's an interesting subject to tackle because it's become so prevalent in our culture that I honestly think as we stand right now, there's probably those wicked smart psychologists that are like, what the heck is going on with America right now? And why is this all so popular? Because this is like a breeding ground to study these same concepts.
Job security.
That we're going over. Yeah, job security for psychologists these days. I'm telling you, it's a very good time to be a psychologist or a therapist. I'm just saying it could be lucrative. And, well, geez, chat's going to take that too, isn't it?
It might.
It might. Okay. Well, I think the scary thing, honestly, what's terrifying is that was one photo. It was one black and white photo, and it sparked this tremendous interest. There was millions of copies of that newspaper sold, and it was one picture. And now we have high def cameras, and We have 10-hour miniseries on serial killers, and we're talking about their lives. And we have Zac Efron playing Ted Bundy and Evan Peters playing Dahmer. And they're making these movies, like these stylized movies. And as somebody who was part of like, you know, the victims' lives, can you imagine?
No.
These people are extremely famous.
Yeah, I can't imagine those movies coming out. And I didn't watch it, and the victims' families did come out. They're just like, we were not okay with it. Not all of them were consulted. They're like, we don't want to see it. We don't want to see them glamorized. Look at them on the Hollywood accepting awards. Like, oh, thank you for this award for me to have the opportunity to play this psychopath that took the lives brutally of these people whose families were still very much alive and still very much the family members who were alive during that time. And I do think that form of glamorization is a scary fine line that we cross in the name of art. I think that's too much.
Well, rating. You know, I always say if a movie makes money, then it will have a sequel. If that sequel makes money, it will have a sequel. And the reason why there wasn't a Rush Hour 4 yet is because the third one didn't do as well. You know, otherwise there'd be 4. And we're finally getting it, by the way.
I'm ready for it.
Yeah, we're finally getting it. I don't know when it's going to happen. But no, I think everything's the same. It's the same. It's just even more active. Like now you can watch true crime and then jump on Reddit and you can go on TikTok and make a video about it. You know, so you can create art, or I guess what you think is art, based off of the art of somebody else making art about real life murder. And now you got like pretty people playing Ted Bundy. Like Ted Bundy was okay looking. He's not Zac Efron. Just saying. So now people are like, oh man, Ted Bundy was Zac Efron. And that's not true. But I mean, can you imagine just being that famous because you killed some people? Like, was Ted Bundy that interesting?
No. His escapes were kind of interesting, but that's about it.
Haven't I always told you? What's the best thing a guy can do when he's trying to make a girl interested?
What?
Not talk.
Oh my gosh, it's so true. Just rude.
As soon as you open your mouth, you're going to ruin it. All right. So if you're good looking enough, she's already decided she's into you. You just really don't have to say much else, because a girl will make up your story, your backstory all by herself. It's going to be
a story she likes.
Exactly. And then guys do this too. If you stay mysterious, even though you're not mysterious, like these serial killers, we want to search for something more. Was it really more, or were they just psychopaths? You know, like there might have not been anything there. We already talked about it. Psychopaths, generally not smart people, you know, they killed people. So we are glamorizing people for maybe not doing a whole great job. You know, most of them got caught real quick too. They're not even like criminal masterminds. Anyways, that's me getting off my soapbox.
Well,
because what we do here is we tell cheeky stories. You know, we're looking for cheeky crimes.
It's a little less cheeky, but some
of them have been a little bit more dark. But what I'm saying is, we're not here to try to glamorize murder.
Not at all. All right. So what did we learn today?
What did we learn today? Well, we learned that Ted Bundy does not look like Zac Efron. We've learned that people will watch any documentary that's on Netflix because people need to fill in the time in which they could be self-reflecting with noise, because we compartmentalize our lives. And you know what? We don't want to face it on a day-to-day basis. And lastly, do you know what's a really good crime show?
Mugshot Mysteries.
Mugshot Mysteries. Mugshot Mysteries and Mine Hunters. Because you know what? At least they make the murderers look just like the murderers looked. Because again, Zac Efron, beautiful man.
So that was Ruth Snyder, the housewife from Queens who became the most infamous woman of the jazz age, a wife who turned husband into fortune, a lover who became an accomplice, a crime that became a photograph burned into history. If you want to see Ruth's mugshot, the Daily News Dead cover, and the original trial clippings, follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Mugshot Mysteries Podcast. Sources and case files are linked in the show notes. And until next time,
stay suspicious.
steps in the night, clues that vanish out of sight. Grab your hat and magnifying glass. We'll talk this case and have a blast. Mugshot mysteries, we're on the trail. Twists and turns that never fail. Laughs and chills, it's quite the show. Who did it? Tune in to know. Stolen gem, a secret note, a shady figure in a trench coat. The clock is ticking, the plot gets thick. We'll crack this puzzle quick as a click. Mugshot mysteries, we're on the trail. Twists and turns that never fail. Laughs and chills, it's quite the show. Who did it? Tune in to know. Follow the breadcrumbs through the haze. Every clue's a piece in this crazy